with the vlogs. It is Tuesday afternoon, and I had a weekend. I Man, it has been a weekend. We had a burst pipe in the apartment, like in the house that I live in, which, we have like, I think like 100 units or something like that in the house. So there are quite a lot of people living here. And there was a burst pipe pretty far low down, and we are living pretty much on top of the apartment complex. And our rental company decided to switch their emergency responding people to an AI chatbot, which did not work at all, which was fun. So we sat here and had no water on Sunday. Like they turned the water off at some point, so somebody had to have called like the fireman or something like that. I don't know. We haven't talked to the person who had the burst pipe. But yeah, so we had no water on Sunday. And then on Monday, we called the company and we were like, yeah, we have no water. You need to do something. And then we never heard back from them. So we, wrote an email, we wrote into their app. We pretty much wrote them everywhere. And we were like, we have no water. We need water. Because we were now 2 days out of having water. And so yeah, and then this morning we still had no water, and so we called again the company, and we were like, yeah, like you really need to fix this. This is not how it's happening. And then our janitor was like, wait, they turned the water on yesterday, and we were like, no, we still don't have water. So yeah, they thought they turned the water back on yesterday, but they didn't, and they didn't check in with us. And so they didn't even know that we didn't have water. And so yeah, it was a whole ordeal today. They had to go back and search for where the water was turned off to turn it back on again. And yeah, I finally was able to take a shower a couple of hours ago, and I have to say, oh my god, I planned on bleaching my hair on Sunday, doing like cleaning the apartment, and then we had no water, and I could do nothing like that, and my hair looked really horrible because I really needed to wash my hair, and I couldn't, and so I didn't go on camera, obviously. So I don't have a video for Thursday, and I don't have the time to film one now because normally I film on Mondays, which is pretty much the day designated for filming for me. So yeah, there sadly won't be a video on Thursday, but I can't change it now. And yeah, it absolutely sucked to have no water for 3 days. Let me tell you that. We didn't have that problem yet here. Like we had, no heating, and the elevator's not working, which sucks if you live in the 14th floor. But we never had a problem with water for that long. We had like 2 hours on like a New Year's Eve, but that was it. And so yeah, it really sucked, and the communication was really horrible for like the first time with our rental company. We never had the problem, but yeah, it sucked. Let me just tell you. So yeah, I have been on camera before yet because I did not look presentable. Let's be honest. I was really glad that I work from home, so nobody had to see me. Yeah, so let's talk about what I did read over the last couple of days, whilst I wasn't checking in with you. I did a little bit of a search for romance books on my library app because I wanted to dabble in some, and then Zach also on Monday gave me some recommendations. Sadly, my library has none of the recommendations, which is really annoying. So I can't read those. I think they might have one where I'm on the wait list for, but other than that, I couldn't find them. So that is kind of annoying. So I tried reading like other romance novels I could find on my library, but I meshed with none of those. So I don't know. I might have just a particular taste. So I then looked up what Rachel Reed, who wrote Heated Rivalry, had written otherwise, to see if I can read more from her. And so I bought myself her 2 standalone novels. Both are hockey novels as well. And so I read Time to Shine, which is about Landon. And he is a backup goalie for his team, and he gets pretty much drafted into the NHL because the backup goalie for the NHL team got injured, and so he gets put on this team, and he is like a really awkward person, really more like a loner, And so he has a hard time like integrating himself into the team, and nobody really talks to him except for Casey. And then when it turns out that he needs to stay longer, because he's only there obviously for the duration of the other player being out because of an injury. As it turns out, he has to stay longer, and so he needs somewhere to live. And Casey is like, you know what? Just move in with me. I'm fine with that. I would love you to move in with me, because Casey is like a really chatty people person. And so Len moves in with Casey, and then the two of them develop feelings for each other, and both of them have problems. Casey is like really afraid of the dark, and he really doesn't want people to find out because it's like a really debilitating thing for him. Like he cannot sleep with the lights off. He has to keep lights on. And Landon is just an incredibly anxious person. And so I don't know, he just doesn't want to bother people. It's pretty much how you can imagine him. And so yeah, the two live together, and then obviously they fall in love. But it's always, you know, they know that Landon has to move out at some point, because obviously he's not part of the team technically. Once the other person comes back, he has to move back to his old town and go back to his old team. And so that obviously strains their relationship. And that is kind of all the novel is about. I felt like it was a really simple plot, but it was super entertaining. It was a really nice read. I gave it 4 stars, on the lower side of 4 stars, but still in the 4s. But yeah, it was more of a simple, slightly feel-good novel with a little bit less of the, you know, the problems weren't really hardcore problems, you know. It's just, you know, oh, will it work out or won't it? A little bit like that. But I did enjoy reading it, and yeah, it was a lot of fun. I like the characters. I could really see how somebody who struggles with being alone might turn out to be like a super chatty, maybe too chatty person to, you know, keep himself busy and not be alone, and then Landon feeling like, you know, he's better off alone and having a hard time connecting with anybody. Like, I feel like it kind of makes sense that it works together for them both, you know. And then I read The Shots You Take, which is the other standalone novel, and that is 2 ex-teammates. And for Riley, his father died, and so he comes back. He lives back in his hometown, but he stopped playing hockey for a couple of reasons, and he is now back in his hometown, and his father just died, and he is taking over his father's hockey gear shop. And then his ex-teammate comes into town, and he hasn't talked to him for 12 years. They are both in their 40s, like at the beginning of their 40s, I think. So they are slightly older than most of the other characters we see in Reed's books. And then Adam comes back into town to go to the funeral of his ex-friend's father and to get back with Riley, pretty much. Like, he wants to fix things, because Riley had a crush on Adam, and they fooled around when they were younger, and Adam couldn't pretty much accept that he was gay. And so he ruined it back then. He married a woman, and then he had children, divorced her at some point because they realized it's not working out, and he's kind of on the end point of realizing he's actually gay and not bi or anything. Yeah. So this one I gave 4 stars as well, but like more in the middle of 4 stars, you know, like a ding on 4 stars. I really like the book, but I can see where the problems are coming in, because Adam was quite an asshole, to be honest. He was a shitty friend, and yeah, it's you know, and they do get back together. I mean, it is a feel-good romance. They are, you know, but the dramatic point is pretty much, you know, Adam being a shitty friend. And I can understand people who are like not happy that they end up together, but I liked it. I don't know how I feel about second chance romances, because the ones I've read so far I didn't like, but for some reason Adam and Riley worked for me, even though I understand why they don't work for some people, you know. But I did really like it. I kind of like the fact, them being older. I can understand, wanting to deny what you are depending on how you grow up, which is a theme in the novel. And so I can kind of understand it, but it doesn't, Adam was still an asshole. So it's a little bit iffy on that one, if, people will like it or not. I can understand that. But yeah, I finished those two because they are quick reads. But yeah, I'm kind of afraid I only like Rachel Reed now. I need to find other ones that are really similar. I feel like they don't need to be like sports romances or anything. I just feel like the writing style of Rachel Reed works really well for me. So I don't know. I have to look into that. But I haven't had much luck so far. And yeah, then I finally picked up a physical book again. And so we are going to be reading Dungeon Crawler Carl this week, which I am 30 pages in, so I haven't read that much because I personally didn't feel like doing much of anything the last few days other than lying in bed and reading on my phone. But yeah, this one is the world being decimated by aliens. They come around and they are like, oh, you ignored our rules of paying things, and so now we are making the world, like we are taking you pretty much into this dungeon crawler. And yeah, Carl is our main character. He was outside trying to catch his ex-girlfriend's cat, which is still living with him at the beginning of the novel. And then all of the houses kind of get like squashed, and other people are pretty much dead that weren't outside. And then there's like this announcement that human, like everybody who's still alive can take a part in this dungeon crawl, and whoever comes out of it in the other end can live. And whoever doesn't want to participate, they can still be on Earth, but they can only use the resources that they can manage to get, which seems really complicated if everything is destroyed. So yeah, I don't really know that is an alternative. But yeah, so we are now with Carl in the dungeon, and he has so far met some goblins that he had to kill. And then he found the tutorial guide, and he's now getting the tutorial. So yeah, it is one of those like lit RPG. Is that the right genre for that? I think it might be. But yeah, so far I am enjoying it. I find this genre to be kind of funny. I did dabble in it a little bit a couple of years ago when it was like really, really popular as well. And I did like it then. So I do look forward to this because we have Carl and we have the cat. He did take the cat with him, and he has gotten quite a few achievements. Like, it's really funny kind of how, the consequences of the planet not doing whatever the aliens thought they should be doing is being kind of a game show that feels like a video game. So yeah, it's kind of a funny read so far. And yeah, but I'm still not fine. So I can't really tell you much more other than that he has to get through 18 floors of the dungeon in 5 days, and no, like most people don't do it, but if you get far enough, you can kind of choose a different role to play in like this dungeon game. The tutorial master, for example, he told him he got into floor 13, and then he couldn't get further, but he then chose to be a tutorial guild master, and so that is his role now. So he can live in the dungeon that gets put up every time they go to a planet. And yeah, it's, it's not much more so far, but I do know that there will be abilities and magic, and he has stats, and the cat as well, and an inventory, a mini map. So it's really like a video game, which I love video games. So I am thinking that book will be really entertaining, but I don't know yet because I haven't read much yet. But I will continue that tomorrow. But yeah, this was a long start to the vlog, so I will leave you now to do some more crocheting, watch maybe a movie or something like that, and then I will see you tomorrow with an update on Dungeon Crawler Carl. So, I have made some progress with Dungeon Crawler Carl, and I have a couple of thoughts for the book. I really like it so far. It is, I feel like, a little bit more on the side of silly humor, but actually likable silly humor from me. I also think this might be a book more for people who also do gaming, because the like I'm at page 100 now, and what I learned so far is that pretty much the aliens have like a game show thing, and this is a game show, so there will be viewers, and people get points on how many supporters they have and stuff like that, and that will kind of make your way easier, slightly like in Hunger Games where Katniss can be sent like these like care packages from like people who want to help. It is slightly like this in here, where like if you have like viewers and they like your stuff, then they can become a patron, and the patron can send you like loot to make things easier for you, for example. And that is how this is working as well. And so we have Carl, and I forgot the cat's name again. She's called Princess Donut. Princess Donut is the cat that is with Carl. And they are on their adventure now. They have finished the tutorial. They know now how to open their inventory and, use potions, use attacks, skill, and all of that. And so they are now making their way through the first level of the dungeon. And they have to fight cockroaches. And Princess Donut, the cat, can use magic. She's really intelligent. She can talk now. And so, yeah, she's really, she's a cool cat. And then we have obviously Carl, who's up in his boxer briefs. He still hasn't found pants. Which, I don't know. Picturing him with like, he has like a cape and a tunic, a troll tunic, and then he's not wearing pants and he isn't wearing shoes. It's kind of a funny look, but it kind of fits well with how you feel like going into a dungeon and like an MMO and like wearing like one fancy thing and then the rest is just shit you're wearing. It kind of really feels like that, and so yeah, they're making their way through the first level, and they have so far managed to beat one boss, and they have to find their way down now. But yeah, I really like it. I think it's funny. I like the humor. I like Carl and Donut. I think they are pretty likable characters. We haven't seen super much of the characters. It's just a lot of like back and forth and reading like messages that pop up in the UI and all of that, But it feels like coming home to video games, which, I haven't played an MMO in quite a while because I just don't have the time for that. And there are so many like video games out there that I want to play, that playing just like one MMO where you're like really like, which is a multiplayer game, like World of Warcraft, for example. If you don't know, I don't know. I always expect everybody to know what an MMO is, but that might not be the case. But yeah, I used to play World of Warcraft for years when I was younger, and I haven't played one in a long time, an MMO. But it's pretty obvious that the game show is based on MMOs. He is in a party with Donut, but he could have been in a party with other people if he had entered the dungeon together with other people, which he didn't. But yeah, it's funny so far. 100 pages in, which is a little bit less than a fourth of the book. And yeah, I'm excited to see where this is going. Obviously, we are probably only get a couple of floors down, because this is a series, and I think there are like, I don't know, maybe 4 or 5 books I've seen so far, I think. So obviously we're not gonna go through the dungeon. But yeah, I am excited for this. I really enjoy it, and I'm really happy that I picked it up, because it does seem to be what I enjoy reading, It's sci-fi and fantasy and video games all in one, and it is a lot of fun. So yeah, that is going great. I am then working on my blanket right now, which I have made quite a lot of progress. I think maybe slightly over halfway through the second skein, and so we are getting into the lighter colors again. That is what I will be continuing to work on. And then I am also currently rereading one of these standalone books by Rachel Reed, because I still have not found a romance that I enjoy other than hers, which sucks kind of. And I did realize I do prefer, I think, a standalone romance a little bit more than a series, even though I like the Game Changer series. I think I enjoy them to wind down in the evening and then it's easier for me if it's standalone and not a series, so I can like change it up more often, I feel like. But yeah, because I couldn't find a new one that I seem to enjoy, I'm just rereading, which, you know, I'm fine with. It's not what I really want to do, but I also don't want to like waste so much time on not finding something I enjoy, which, you know, it's a problem I will have to solve somehow. I don't know yet, but yeah, that is the update. We'll see how Dungeon Crawler Call will continue, but I am really hopeful that it will be a really good read, which is really, really nice. So my reading is like going really steadily strong, which is really, really nice. Okay, it is Friday afternoon now. I finished work for the week, thank God. And then I watched the season finale of Heated Rivalry, which such a good episode. I actually watched episode 5 again and then 6 just to, you know, get back into the story again. Not that I'm out of it at all, but like, you know. And yeah, I loved every second of that episode. It was really, really great, and I'm so sad that it's over. You know, we have to wait probably till next year to get the next season, which totally fair. I know good things take a while, and 1 year obviously isn't super long. But yeah, I'm kind of sad to know that it's gonna take so long till we get the next one. But yeah, I loved every second of that, and I will definitely. I can tell that it's going to become like a comfort show. Definitely, which I'm happy about, to be honest. But yeah, I love that show. It's great. The reading that I've been doing has been going all over the place. I continued with Dungeon Crawler Carl, not as much as I wanted to, mostly because yesterday I just had a really annoying work day and I wasn't doing as much reading as I normally would have. So I'm at page 150 now. I don't think I will get through the book this week, but it's fine. I'm still really enjoying this. I think it's a fun read. It's a really entertaining read. We are still on like the first floor. They are still killing monsters, but Carl also has like a couple of problems with the whole concept of the game show, which like totally fair. He didn't sign up for it. He didn't have a choice, more or less. And yeah, I'm totally excited to see where this is going. They have like, I think 2 days left to find an entrance to the lower level. Otherwise, they will get killed. Obviously, I think we can all see that they will get further. So, you know, it's kind of a little bit, if you have so many books out in a series already, you kind of know that there might be bad things, but obviously the main character isn't gonna die or anything will happen to him that is like a bigger problem, you know, because the series is about Carl. So it's kind of a little bit bittersweet that I know that obviously nothing will happen to him. That is like horrible. But it is super entertaining and I'm really enjoying the read, though I didn't get around to do as much of that as I wanted to. My romance reading or my evening reads have been going less well. I tried a book yesterday that I landed from my library, which was a good idea. But yeah, I was searching for like just romance books in general and seeing what I could find that was available from my library. And then I found a book called Blank Spaces by Cass Lennox. And I started reading it and it's so bad. I don't know. Maybe I'm really particular about the books that I will like in like the romance section, which is totally fine, but finding ones I will enjoy has been kind of hard. Blank Spaces is pretty much about two guys. One works in an art gallery as like the lowest employee there, and the other one is an insurance investigator, pretty much, or like an insurance guy who helps, you know, when there's an insurance claim. And they get onto each other's lives because in the gallery where, oh God, I have forgotten his name. Let me maybe look up his name. Vaughn. Like where he works, a painting got stolen. And it is the third one that year. And so the insurance company sends the other guy, Jonah, and his colleague to investigate. And so so they do that, and it's a little bit of a problem. And from the get-go, we have Jonah being like, we have both perspectives, but Jonah is like totally like, oh my god, the guy is so hot, but he seems so like one of those rich judgy guys, stuff like that. And then both of them want to relax in the evening, and they by accident land in the same gay club. And as far as I can see, Vaughn is more of an ace character, and Jonah is like a hookup character. And that is kind of like what is supposed to be like the main focus of the story. But Jonah is just an asshole. Straight from the beginning, he is incredibly judgy about Vaughn, and then he really, like, he treats him really, really badly. Like, Jonah has a threesome in the bathroom at the club, and Vaughn is in the bathroom, going to the bathroom, and then Jonah comes out of the stall he was in with the two guys he was together with, and he sees Vaughn, and his first thought is that he is stalking him to kind of influence him. And so he drags him out, like, pretty violently. He drags him out of the club to, like, confront him, and Vaughn is just like, I'm here by accident. I have no idea what you want from me. And that is how their not relationship begins, And it just continues that way, with Jonah being really mean and being really judgmental and saying things that he has no right to say to Vaughn. And Vaughn just, like, pretty silently just taking it all in, and then still staying and talking to him. It's really weird. I DNF'd it. I couldn't get past the fact that, like, somehow these two are supposed to get into a relationship together. I can't really tell how that is supposed to work. So I looked up the reviews, because obviously I was kind of interested to see what other people thought. And they seem to be pretty split, with, like, people really loving the book and people really disliking the book. And as far as I can tell, the whole thing ends in kind of an open relationship, which I think is... Obviously, I haven't read the rest of the book. I have to say that. But... And I do have friends who are in open relationships. I'm totally fine with that. I wouldn't care, to be honest. But I think it's kind of a weird solution for this couple that maybe shouldn't really be a couple. And then also with, like, the fact of Jonah just being an asshole. I don't get it. I don't get the book. I can't. And yeah, that is... Yeah, I hated that. I really hated that, reading that. It was... I don't know. So yeah, instead I am rereading Heated Rivalry. Because, I want to read something sweet and nice and enjoyable when it comes to romance, and I have such a hard time, at least from my library, finding good romance books. I mean, for the main part, I'm looking at queer romance novels so far, because, to be honest, I have read some with straight couples, but for my personal taste, I feel like so far the queer ones have been a little bit more loving, which obviously is, I have a really narrow field of books that I've tried so far, obviously. But yeah, it's really a journey I'm pretty confused about, and I don't know if I enjoy this journey. I want to read more romance. I really want to find some that I really, really like. But there are a lot out there where, like, I start the book and then immediately dislike one of the two main characters, and then I can't get past that. Obviously, because if you read a romance novel, you should like both characters, no? At least for me, I feel like that's the only reasonable solution to the thing. So yeah, I don't know. I will try a new one each evening, and then maybe at some point I will find a good one. Obviously, I'm also restricted by what my library has, because I don't want to buy all of these books. I don't know if I will enjoy them, so I'm not buying them right now. Heated Rivalry was like a pick where I was pretty sure I will like it because of this series. But yeah, with the ones I tried so far, it's pretty good. I just lent them from my library. But yeah, that is kind of the journey I'm on right now. It's kind of a confusing journey, to be honest, because it's a genre I was pretty sure I did not like at all. And now that I know that there are ones out there that I do like, it's so frustrating finding so many that I do not like and then sifting through them. I never had that experience, with fantasy. It's much easier to find books I like, with sci-fi as well, with thrillers as well. Romance seems to be a complicated genre for me, so yeah. Okay, so I had a little bit of an outing with my partner today. And, whenever I go to a mall, I have to go into the bookstore, and I picked up a new book. Should I have picked up a new book? No. I just couldn't help myself. So I picked up Gaslit by Megan Davidizar. I'm really sorry. That is how it's written. This is a thriller about a woman who was supposed to be babysitting her cousins on New Year's Eve, and she gets there and nobody is answering the door, and then she goes in and she finds her cousins unconscious and somebody else dead on the floor, and then the investigation discovers that there was a gas leak, and Ella is like, yeah, that can't really be true, like something else happened here, and then she investigates and gets into it. And I thought that actually sounded really interesting, and I do want to pick up a couple of more thrillers, because so far, like, the rest of my physical TBR is really, really fantasy heavy, and like old man thrillers, kind of, like, like the James Patterson stuff and that, like that. And so yeah, I thought I would just pick up a random thriller to be able to read it. So yeah, we'll see how it is. I have no idea. I have never heard of the author. I have never heard of the book. So, it's gonna be a surprise. I do like a surprise in books. Then I did quite a bit of reading on Dungeon Crawler Carl. I am a pretty good way through the book. I'm at page nearly 300, like a little bit before 300. I am really enjoying the book. I think the one thing that I'm kind of realizing is that I might not continue with the series, because as this is entertaining, I really like the the type of story, this being like a video game and a little bit like the Hunger Games as well, and Carl having to fight through it with Donard, and then meeting other people, like for example at one point they meet somebody who has killed other crawlers, and obviously Carl isn't happy about that, and they ambush them, and so they have to run away, and all of that. So we don't only have the monsters in the dungeon as a problem, we also have other crawlers as a problem. What I think I'm realizing is that as entertaining as this is, I cannot imagine reading like 6 of these. I don't really know. I think I might go ahead and just try to get them from my library and not buy them as like a physical copy when I do continue with the series, just because I want to be sure that I actually really enjoy more than one iteration of this book. Because as entertaining as this is, it doesn't feel like I would enjoy like 8 books of the same thing. So yeah, but I am really enjoying this one so far. I mean, I'm not quite through, but so far I'm hovering around like 4 stars. It is entertaining, it is funny, it is interesting, but at the same time it's also kind of generic, especially if you've read other like lit RPG novels before. I think that is what the genre is called, which I have dabbled into. So whilst I think it's not a bad book, I also think it might be slightly overhyped if you look online. But it is entertaining, nonetheless. And I do like Carl, and I like Donut, and I like the adventure, but it does continue in the same vein as I've talked about before. They go through the dungeon, they fight bosses, they fight monsters, they meet other people. They have to, they look into trying to get views now and all of that. And yeah, it is interesting, it is entertaining, but I feel like it's kind of missing like something to keep me in the story. I feel like that is how I can best describe this. That's kind of what is missing, but I'm still having a good time with it, and I will finish this one by the beginning of next week then. So yeah, that is the reading that I have done. And then the last thing I kind of want to end this vlog with is I finished my blanket. I put it over my chair as like a chair cover, you know, while I'm not using it as a blanket. But let me try to show you how it's looking now. I'm super happy with it. This is how the blanket is now looking. I have managed to work through both skeins of the color changing yarn, and I am super duper happy with it. I really love it. It's a really nice cotton. And I was tempted to pick up another color to make myself a second one, but like, I don't feasibly need a second blanket, but I really like the look of it. So yeah, I'm super duper happy, and I will just use it as a chair cover whilst I not need it as a blanket, you know, which I think is really, really nice, and it feels really good. So yeah, I worked really, really hard to get that finished, and I'm super happy with it. So that is what I will end the vlog with. So I hope you found this week interesting. Oh, I also finished my Heated Rivalry reread. I don't know if I will count that towards my books read, because it's such a short time after I read it the first time around. And I have started another reread of another one of Rachel Reed's books, because I don't know what else to do in the evening, and I find them really relaxing. So I'm just continuing to reread them until I'm sick of them. I don't know. Seems to be what I'm doing. But yeah, that is all for this week. So thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this week's vlog, and hopefully I will see you in the next one.